We made a decision earlier on after retiring to go cruising and living a slightly different lifestyle to a lot of others, I suppose.
Gordon and Louise Coates are charting their own course through superannuation and retirement.
I guess we didn't really think too much about it until you were getting to that age and stage. And of course then you ask yourself, do we have enough? How do we go about it?
A former Qantas pilot, Gordon received a generous super package. He and his wife of 40 years have also invested more than $1 million in a self-managed super fund.
We get our monthly income through our fund and yeah, we survive very nicely. We're sort of comfortable. We're not extravagant though. A lot of it was luck.
Bit of a learning curve.
A learning curve. And we're not gamblers, so, you know, it wasn't gambling, but it was, we were fortunate the way it fell for us.
They navigate their way with the help of a financial advisor they trust.
It would be so time-consuming if you tried to do it yourself. And when regulations change and laws change, then it would be hard. Much easier for us to go cruising when we know that our financial advisor is making those decisions for us.
A lot of people start self-managed super funds because they're interested in controlling their own investments and they're interested in minimising tax. So when we surveyed people, they were the two most commonly put forward reasons for starting a self-managed super fund.
To be frank with you, the people that are most at risk are people who can be affected by adverse government decisions because, you know, every time the government gets itself into trouble, it changes the rules and takes more tax.
The most recent figures from the Tax Office show that more than 1 million Australians manage their own super funds. They're overwhelmingly used by the wealthy. More than 3/4 of them have over $1 million invested. But according to the Productivity Commission, those with less than $500,000 in assets perform significantly worse than standard super funds.
People start them up with the expectation that they're going to get greater control over their investments, often under the advice of an advisor. So by far the majority of people who start an SMSF are doing it because an accountant or an advisor has recommended that course of action to them, and they anticipate that they're going to be able to invest in a way that they want to.
Rowena Turner has learnt the hard way that self-managed super isn't for everyone. Before retiring to the New South Wales Central Coast, she bought and sold properties in Sydney with her then husband.
We ran two businesses for 25 years and 30 years, and we've never had any formal education, but I think we were au fait with, you know, what we were doing.
They used to belong to a retail super fund.
We didn't feel we were making enough money from the super fund at that time. We were putting in each week and it just wasn't growing.
And you thought you could do a better job?
Yes, I guess we were optimistic.
With advice from their accountant, Rowena and her husband set up a self-managed super fund. This house is the fund's sole investment.
That's our superannuation fund.
And is it working for you?
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be now. It's just causing me a headache now.
It worked for a while, but now that it's not generating enough income, they need to sell the house. Rowena wants to move into the property and renovate, but self-managed super fund restrictions prevent that.
We decided we would like to live in the property, and we were informed that we had to pay the stamp duty all over again. So it's $25,000 worth of stamp duty required to just get out of the super fund and have it in our own name.
And that's money you haven't got?
That's money I haven't got.
For now, Rowena's relying on the pension and living in a government-subsidised townhouse. How much is enough to retire on is as varied as the different lives we lead. The Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia sets a retirement income benchmark for people who own their own home. It estimates a modest lifestyle for a couple in their 60s or 70s is about $40,000 a year, only about $3,500 more than the age pension. $60,000 is needed for a couple to live comfortably.
We often hear people talk about, I need $1 million for retirement. It's a nice round number, and it sounds like a lot of money. In reality, most people are not going to get anywhere near that amount of money.
People do talk about $1 million, yeah. By the way, if you went on the age pension over a long period of time, the cumulative effect of the age pension could be getting up towards $1 million. You know, if you lived a long time.
If you lived a long time.
So, you know, there's not such a silly sum to talk about, $1 million. For people who are going to live in retirement for, let's say, 25 years.
This year, more than 250,000 Australians will retire. And in a decade, that annual figure will have increased by about 50,000.
Thank you, everybody. I will miss you guys too. I will.
Sue Ellen Kirby's celebrating her last day of work.
And if I say much more, I'm going to start crying. So.
Sue Ellen's retiring from her job in Melbourne. She's only worked consistently since getting divorced 8 years ago. She has just $24,000 in super.
And I've loved working with you too. Spent my time bringing up my kids because I felt strongly about being home for them when they came home from school and just being there for them generally. So it took a lot of time out of the workforce to the detriment of my super. We're going to go and sit down. Come on. Yes, good girl. Good girl.
Like most retired Australians, Sue Ellen will rely on a combination of the pension and her modest superannuation.
Yeah, if I'd had $20 a fortnight going in way back when, it could have made a really big difference to the balance of my super now. I've worked out all my figures and I should be fine. I should be able to cover everything that comes up.
She's relieved her home is paid off, but has completed a diploma in share trading in a bid to boost her savings.
Now with the share trading, I should be able to, I may not get completely off the pension, but I can at least, subsidise some of my living expenses with share trading.
To some degree, everyone's superannuation is betting on the share market now.
Every Australian is in the stock market because through their superannuation fund, most of these funds are putting 60%, sometimes more, into the Australian stock market. And so we're all riding the stock market now. It's been a good ride for a few years, but wait until there's a bad ride. The whole of the country is going to be affected. And I don't know if people have figured this out yet.